Hi, everyone. This is Rick Costa. We're doing another Chaparral online reading, and today is July 28th. And today we have Dwight Nomad Jackson. Dwight's 66 years old. He says he's an old soul, new to creative writing. He's born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, traveled as an Army brat, schooled in San Francisco, California, joined the service to travel some more, and then he visited several countries and the continental 48 states. And he settled in Sacramento, California. We're glad to have him here. I know Dwight from the Heart Center, where we have a poetry group. We meet weekly, and he goes by the pseudonym Nomad. So, Nomad, I turn it over to you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, all. I was Sacramento Poetry Center and the Heart Center is where I actually recognized my addiction to writing. Um, I don't know why I didn't recognize that any sooner. It's probably because I suffer from some of those learning disabilities that make people think that they can't. And well, eventually I began to overcome those that I didn't succumb to. And well, here I am. I have a series of poems, and I don't know how I'm going to deliver them or what order or, but let me start. My first is called I Am That Different. It is a prose poem. I am that different that you may have heard of. I am that different that you look upon inquisitively. I am that different that your mother warned you of. I am that tortured soul with something to say, yet I fear vocalization. I have emotional expressions that in the past only existed on paper, sometimes saved, rarely shared. I am a poet. Seems that I have, as long as I can recall, viewed things differently, artistically. Where most see a mess, I say a motif. Attempts to express these things have only brought ridicule from those with no understanding. Hurt feelings and bruised egos support my desire to hide that side of my being. Nonetheless, these types of things speak to me, sometimes in whispers, sometimes they shout, always in technicolor. I have heard song as butterflies danced past. Rain is the reason to slow down and watch flowers rejoice as rainbows create paths to who knows where. When these things occur, my pencil races to record them in my little red book of notes, lest they be forgotten. I am a wordsmith. My world is often expressed in rhyme and verse, sometimes romantically soft as a kiss, sometimes strikingly bodacious, sometimes sadly odiously, sometimes with sarcastically hidden points, sometimes biting wit that passes over the heads of those not paying attention. It is not my desire to confuse or be misunderstood. In fact, I work to bring understanding to understanding. And the path only requires that we get out from understanding to arrive at an overstanding, which is the path to understanding. I desire to rise above the common, knowing that above every gray cloud, there are blue skies, and that is where my true peace lies. And I invite you to join within the poetic understandings of a poet. Thank you. Thank you. I have an issue with order. This is my first Zoom meeting or opening mic somewhere outside of the Sacramento Poetry Center or the Ethel Hart Center in Sacramento. I'm a tad shy, I might say. However, I'm working on that. This poem is called A Way Back. Only fools attempt to, excuse me, only fools attempt to possess love with a stranglehold within its beauty. Long past midnight. Let me start over. A way back. Only fools attempting to possess love with a stranglehold, forsaking the thorns within its beauty. Long past midnight and agony, we disagree. Attempts to address the with wow. Let me breathe and start one more time. A way back. Only fools attempt to possess love with a stranglehold, forsaking the thorns within its beauty. Long past midnight in agony, we disagree. Attempts to address the pains that blockade our efforts to bridge our estrangement, fraught with memories of our unhealthy relationship, of anger so intense it continues to reverberate through the heart long after the hurtful words die away in echo. Then silently we toss and turn, pretending to sleep, anguishly through what anguishing through what is left of the night, and sadly coming to terms with the realization blood on our hands can no longer be ignored. Such deep cuts can no longer be excused. And tears on our pillows are the sign of the same there can be no more. And as the sun rises, no longer foolishly realizing surrender is the only path to acquiring true love, we release the stranglehold used to maintain our bonds. And so, separate ways, separate ways we agree to go, hoping we have the strength, hoping we've learned the lesson that will allow us to find our way back to true love if the desire persists. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mark and I have this little tradition. We have the guest readable for those of you who are new or have just come a couple times before. The poet will read 2 or 3 poems, and then we'll sort of open up for commentary. But if you want to use the chat function, Mark and I usually if we hear a line that we love, we like to type that into the chat. So if you click on the chat button, you'll be able to see that. And if you hear something you want to type in there, you can join us too.
That's beautiful. I was just taking a moment to read some of your chats, and because I'm kind of new at this, it's a little bit difficult for me to go back and forth because
yeah.
I'm a glutton. I want to see it. I want it all. I want it all.
We're just putting in catching a line that you read.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This next is called It Was Way Back Then. It was back then that it happened. This title is also the first line of the poem. It was back then that it happened, back when I was a different me, a hoarder of negative thought, envisioning lack and loss looming behind every turn, sure it was out to get me yet again. While peeking through fingers covering my eyes, I spied not another travesty, but an opportunity to revise my worldly view. It came to my attention having a focus on what is wanted as opposed to what is not develops the law of attraction, which creates greater emphasis. Through meditation came the message, being cognizant of thought opens the mind positivity, thereby bringing into focus opportunity. This earth-shattering, life-altering revelation began my ascent to a world of peace, joy, and unlimited prosperity.
Okay, open it up for comments, questions. If you're muted, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I hate that. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a perfectionist. and that's a dirty word. However, I'm always looking to some form of betterment. And if you guys don't give me some less than critical diagnose, I'm going to think, I knew it. I knew it all along. This is no good. They don't want to hurt my feelings.
No, I'm the therapist. If there's any diagnosing, that'll be me. I'm licensed.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
And I say you're good.
Okay. I'll check again with myself, right? This next is called having no. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone had a comment.
Yes, yes, I love that you were not afraid to start your poem over again 3 times. That was fabulous. Bravo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes when I am reading, the mind goes into a direction that's really not on the paper. And because I don't know I have rewritten these things several times, and I won't go into my revisions, but I cross that out and I start over again within my mind. So that's really what happens. Okay.
I understand.
This is called I Have No Choice in the Matter. It dawned on me last night while failing to sleep. I am mad, not angry, irate, or pissed. I am mad, truly mad. And knowing this madness can only be subdued with love makes me even madder. I am mad having to come to terms with the disdain recognized in the eyes of those who view me as less than. I am mad at those believing themselves more deserving of the rights to the title American than all others. This simmering madness spawns these questions. Where does all this hatred come from? This selfishness, this egotistical attitude, this unmitigated gall come from? Help me to understand the new rules. When did what is right go far left? Or is it the left that has gone far right? Was it at the same time that lies became interchangeable with the truth? Am I the only confused one? How did correct cease to be right? When did fair become subjective? And why has my voice become negated? Tell me again, why can't I vote here? Most confusing of all, the higher power commands we fight hatred with love, even though we know they refuse to fight fair. This is a love poem, and I do my best to shy away from love poems, as that seems to be the heart of most poems. However, this is called The Heart Wants What the Heart Wants. Silly me, chasing love, only to yet again catch heartbreak. Nevertheless, from blurred, bloodshot eyes, pride leaks, begging you to return. Okay, I'm going to save this next one. This is called wordsmithing. I thought I had given up on the wordsmithing game. Oh, the joys, a tossing in my mind, witty rhymes and puns, inwardly laughing at those slow to get the theme that I lyrically expose. It has been pointed out to me from time to time that I was being rude, bordering on crass, using smithing to insinuate that some clown had magically developed into an ass, when in actuality, they had been donkeys all along. Fact is, I'm not really trying to be insulting, merely practicing my skill of linguistic play. joyfully pointing out the obvious in what I thought was an amusing way. I found it to be mentally entertaining to express eloquently what was obviously on the mind of others, too polite to say. That was a fun poem to write. I don't know, it's wordsmithing.
I love to say I have a sort of a stock phrase that I use is that one of my superpowers is pointing out the obvious.
Because not everybody can do it. Not
That's
everybody
right.
can do it, huh? Okay. Okay.
I especially love that phrase.
See, okay, this is a little more serious. It's called Times Gone By. While sitting on the porch, rocking back and forth, relating my thoughts to the sons of my son, with of times of days gone by, saying, I hear there was a time not so long before my time when caring was in vogue, when giving was the thing to do, when receiving had no strings attached. But clearly that must have been a time, excuse me, but clearly that must have been another time. As most of these days, I meet people who are not so kind. There was a time, just before my time, I am told, that sharing was a rule of thumb, that everyone was expected to get some, and if not, somebody's mama would make sure it got done. But that was clearly a time before my time. Sadly, all I recognize in this present day and time is an attitude of lack and fear, seems to permeate the air, choking those in need, hardening their sensitivities, polluting their creative thoughts with conjures of evil deeds that justify their perspective of hoarding and greed. God bless the child that's got his own. I got mine. Damned be you and yours. Even the new concept of sharing is unbalanced. One for you, two for me. One for you, three for me. Seems to be the decree. But that was then, and this is now, I say, as I stop rocking in my chair, looking sternly over them all. I say, young warriors, I say, to the sons of my son, I say, it is your task to improve on those times of days gone by. For the sake of your children's children, now is the moment for you to go forward, to be the change we need to see. Then I go back to rocking back and forth while sitting on the porch, and I begin to feel at ease, for I know by the look on their faces that they have truly heard what I had to say.
Wow, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This is the one that really made me understand, oh, I do know some stuff. This is called The Great Pinecone War of Golden Gate Park. And it's semi-autobiographical. To a kid, few things are more sacred than the neighborhood clubhouse. Our sacred place was situated in Golden Gate Park amongst a circle of trees with an 8-foot clearance in its center. There was an opening or a split that allowed entrance at a spot that could not be seen from the trail. And though our clubhouse was not an actual house, ardent affection for this place was evident by the creature comforts dragged into its place. A few days later, we had accumulated furnishings in the form of plastic milk crates used as seats, a rug remnant, and a pillow or two were all we needed. And this spot, this circle of trees with its 8-foot clearing, however sparsely decorated, however lame, was our clubhouse. And we were proud of it. Even though it wasn't really a house, it was our secret spot, or so we thought. Well, a few days later, this event took place. I don't know how these other kids found our spot or who they were. What I did know was trespass was taking place in our sacred space. As a reminder, excuse me, as I remember, on this day, we neighborhood kids, Terry, Carl, Diane, my sister Faye, and I had ridden our bikes to our secret place, intending to partake in Galileo's salami slices bought with the bottle deposit money we had earned collecting bottles found around our neighborhood. When we arrived at our spot, we found it occupied by three kids we didn't know. After some back and forth that might have included some cursing and maybe a few threats, pine cones were thrown at them as they exited. With their promise to return, the gauntlet was thrown down in the form of a pine cone or two thrown back at us. We spent the next hour or so building up a nice little collection of ammunition pine cones in preparation for what we knew was to come. No rocks, just pine cones. We didn't want to kill anyone, just let them know we meant business. It was the next day that those kids returned. This time there were four of them and just three of us boys, as the girls wanted no part of a pine cone war. Long story short, we threw out pine cones at them and they managed to gather them and throw them back at us. And this lasted for half an hour or so. In the throes of battle, it seemed a lot longer. There was a lot of trash talk of which I will not be repeating. Anyway, sometime during that battle, I sustained a direct hit which chipped my front tooth. I don't remember how the Great Pinecone War of Golden Gate Park ended, though that injury was not the reason. Fortunately, soon after, those kids retreated and we never saw them again. Unfortunately, not long after, our clubhouse was demolished, cleared of all our creature comforts by what I came to believe were the park's groundkeepers. The takeaway of this tale is, as with all wars, there are no true winners.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. Okay.
I love that too. Great ending.
Yeah. Okay. Let me put this one aside for a second. Matter of fact, I'll do that next. Epiphany.
Maybe we could use some of those techniques in Gaza.
Okay. See, just for that, I'm bringing this one back. I'm bringing it back. Okay. This is called The Art of Diplomacy. Once upon a night, stirred by a disturbance coming from my crayon box, I approached, flipped on the light, flipped open the lid, startling the colors to silence. "What's going on?" I bellowed. All at once, all attempted to speak all at once. Cries of, "I am the best color. I am the favorite color," beset my ears. One at a time, I pleaded. "You first," I pointed. Blue began to boast. "I am the color of the sky, bluebell flowers, and there is a fruit named after me, and that's why I am the best color." Orange cut in. "I am the color of pumpkins and California poppies, and there's a fruit named after me too," he added smugly. Red chimed in. "I am the most loved color. I represent the hearts of Valentine's Day and roses and red apples, and people love," and Green cut her off proudly proclaiming, "I am the color of things that grow. The world loves all kinds of things that grow green, even green apples." "Well," said Yellow, "I am the color of the sun. And without that yellow sun, where would any of you be? And that's why I am the most important color." "If it weren't for any of you," shouted Black. It was then that I stepped in as their proclamations were beginning to again get out of hand. "Hear me," I said, shaking my head. "What have times come to when a box of crayons can't get along? Is this indicative of humanity?" Tears began to well. "Ever since the fall of the Tower of Babel, there have been trouble with working together and understanding that there is no such thing as best. There's only different. Not better or greater or less than better, just different. Working together, you are all the makings of a rainbow, chased by many in search of dreams come true, or that pot of elusive gold. Need I remind you, you are all black, blended, separated by a spark caused by the Big Bang, so brilliantly bright it created a spectacular array of life depicted as color. So you see, you are all important. We are, they sang in unison. Yes, you are. Now get some rest. We've got a lot of work to do, making the world a more colorful place. And with that, the crayons settled down. I closed the lid, turned out the light, and went to bed. Alas, if only the world's diplomacy were that easy.
Oh, I love that one. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Tell us about your inspiration for that one. That was priceless.
You know, here's what happens. As I mentioned earlier, I have a little red book. And every now and then stuff just springs into mind and I start scribbling. And I imagine, and I can't say for truthfully, I imagine that my addiction to the news and the hearing of the fights going on in those Far East realms got my attention again. And it just kind of fell into place. A lot of my poetry is whimsical, as well as bordering on heartfelt romance, and the two tend to blend themselves, and I find peace in poetry. So that's kind of where that came from. But yes, it is also one of my favorites.
It's filled with so many tasty bits. I really love that.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. I love that. Yeah.
My mother is in the background. She's clapping her hands to it also. It's I'm inclined to turn the camera on her, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that. I won't do that. Okay. This is called Epiphany. Having misused this body for quite some times, 6 decades plus 6 years in counting, selfishly ignoring its true needs while proudly boasting, ain't nothing fell off yet. However, recently, little discomforts have increased the pains. Breathing has become a strain, dwelling in brown fog and acid rains, causing vitality from this body to drain. Physicians admonish sternly, in order to survive or just stay alive, major changes need take place. No longer can you run this rat race. And odious was the prescription prescribed. Such a thought was baffling, being that I had never dawned on me my style of living was killing me. The mind boggles. What could possibly be given up? I need creature comforts to sustain me, simple access to excessive gluttony to support my couch potato existence. Starting with beer, pizza delivery, and cable TV, most would agree, all simple life necessities. When I stopped bemoaning the change in physical placement and embraced a different kind of living, I began to feel the contrast in the vibrations of atmosphere as I came out of versus as I came out of. Oh, excuse me. When I stopped bemoaning the changes in physical placement and embraced a different kind of living, I began to feel the contrast in the variations of atmosphere I had come out of versus that which I have entered. I noticed the atmosphere of I noticed the aroma of fresh air, gained an understanding of rain as a cleansing, life-giving process. As I listened, I heard trees talk. As I relaxed in this newness, my spirit takes flight, following songbirds I would not have otherwise noticed. I discovered the natural beauty of harmonious living, becoming aware of an epiphany. Nature is by and large, friendly if we are respectful of our Mother Earth.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes, yes, sometimes. And I say I write these things down, and I write, I guess, like most authors, in the middle of the night. You know, it's like I scribble sentences, and then sometime around 2 or 3, I wake up and I say, "Oh no, I've got to do something about this." And I would look at my book and I say, "Oh, okay," and then I start putting them together, sentences, and then I rearrange them 4 or 5 times, and the next thing you know, ta-da, there's a poem. Or I think it is. I don't know. As I said, I am always very critical of what I think I've done, and so that's very helpful within my creative process. And in fact, I this past summer took a course on creative writing because, as I said, I doubt myself on many levels. And I managed to get an A out of this class where I felt I should hate my teacher because she had no business sitting me through these things. But obviously, there was something in there for me to get, and evidently I got it. So thank her. Name is Heather. Oh, it's going to come to me in a minute. She's at the CBC, no, CRC in Sacramento.
Mhm.
This is called The Blessing of Peace. I have been marred with oppressive attitudes, which in turn created a depressive journey within my search for a realm, for a realm of joy through peace, rarely experienced in sustained manner. Words of cynics stroked my disbelief, dispelling hope with such a place. Oh, sorry. Allow me to start over. The bliss of peace. I have been marred with oppressive attitudes, which in turn create a depressive journey within my search for a realm of joy through peace, rarely experienced in sustained manner. Words of cynics stroke disbelief, dispelling hope that such a place exists. Missing is the mindset of acceptance of possibility, lost in the loss of childhood. I know this place exists just within happiness, far above transcendental attitudes. I'm spurred on by the idea of being submerged in the bliss of peace. That word I missed was transcendental. My tongue just won't say it. I don't know what that's about. This is called emotional wonderment. While sitting in a bar, trying to forget, I found myself wondering, why am I feeling alone in the midst of this crowd? Can anyone see me hiding behind a stiff upper lip, weeping tearless cries while sipping sex on the beach or something just as intoxicatingly sweet? Are lost in love the foundation of emotional connection to the tears and smiles? And why is that girl dancing so wild? Is music the voice of the winds passing through what may have you, whilst tunes that beckon emotions only those who've loved can feel? Maybe that's why that girl's dancing style is so unreal. Is instant the insistence that I have more of a desired pleasure with repetition, even though we know it will never be as good as the first time? As I order another drink, I find myself wondering, am I a fool for asking questions I surely know the answer to? These sad love
Amen.
poems. This is
That.
this is called Only in Love. I am an old soul, healed, coming anew. My path was long ago mapped, and I am well on my way. Never was it said the way would be easy, only that the assured would find their way along this path to a safe place, and the safe place remain a safe place. I've been so long out of touch. Times have changed things, and yet they have not. I remember fighting my way out of the cocoon of negativity, surviving barely, only to find myself entrapped in another and yet another. I bear the mental scars as witness. With assurance, I can say, I know that I am, but they know me not. I remember being alone in the crowd, gasping for a breath that seemed to fight me as I fight back against the impending end, knowing reality, and no one seems to notice or care. Oddly, I know feeling some indescribable kind of way. I move only to melancholy melodies. It seems it is in those moments of this reincarnation that I recall your grace saving advice. Never converse with those unversed in love. They would inevitably steal your peace, and you will have to repeat this step yet again.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This is one of my very longest poems, and I was rather proud of it when I created it. But I have never read it, so you guys shall be first. This is called There's Nothing New. Part 1, Birth. There's nothing new in the assurance we exude. I would like to believe I know what I perceive, or am I again being deceived? What I believe is life exists because of pheromones, a physiological entity persuading persuading procreation, drawing me to you and you to me, fighting, slow down, okay. What I believe is life exists because of pheromones, a physiological entity persuading procreation, drawing me to you and you and to me. Fight it though we might, life continues to exist despite our disrespectful existence. Clearly, there are moments of question clearly there are more questions than answers in search of who I think I am. All I know for sure is I feel deja vu watching life unfold one day at a time. Who's to say if we will ever know more than we currently think we know? I believe I must accept there are things in this world that cannot be explained and cannot be denied. For the truth, we cannot hide. Oh, from the truth, we cannot hide. Part 2, Rebirth. There is nothing new within the rays of our life-supporting star that was not here eons before the first question was asked, and still answers await to be discovered, which we have yet to uncover. Life's cycle of reincarnation reinvented, produced atoms compounded, re-emerging as different, capitulating over and over. And when we think it's over, it just begins again and then again with no known end. There's nothing new in this life-supporting waters today that was not here eons before. And who's to say hundreds of centuries before this day, I was not, excuse me, chlorophyll. I'm looking at the word and I can't even say it. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start over. There is nothing new in this life-supporting waters today that was not here eons before. And who's to say hundreds of centuries before this day, I was not the chlorophyll of flora, and you a wearer of fins, a breather of hydrogenated compounds of oxygen. Who's to say when walking through the door of reincarnation if we emerge as amoeba, insect, man, or woman? How can we be so sure of things we believe when clearly we don't know how to live holistically in the here and now within this life's existence?
Wow.
Part 3, Armageddon. There is nothing new happening under our sun. And as time passes, humans continue to live carelessly, poison and exhaust. Excuse me. Wow. Part 3, Armageddon. There's nothing new happening under our sun. As times pass, humans continue to carelessly poison and exhaust resources, despite repeated warnings. Gross exploitation of gross profits equal gross waste, while those that can pack for the new lands to continue their exploration. The question is it too late to save our own bacon? I see the smoke. Have we run out of time? I smell something burning. I feel the heat. Or is that just global warming? What I believe is it's not too late to tune in new frequencies of understanding, bring new thought to old issues. It's taken most of a lifetime to learn. True power resides in times gone by. And who's to say we can't learn from the lessons of times before to shut the door on impending Armageddon? Through trust of the process, no longer do we need fear the future. We merely need to heed the lessons of the past. Have we not heard this before? Part 4, New Birth. There is nothing new, never has been, never will be. It is within the magical spirit called belief in self, which access the enhanced powers necessary to garner the creative strengths that save our world. And who's to say when I feel a poem coming on, it is not the answer? Who's to say that it can't be done? Just because you need proof does not mean it does not exist. Knowing that I cannot tell you what I know because there are no words does not make it any less so. All I know is all I need to know. And so, if within me you don't follow, off I go to help rebuild our world.
Oh, please say something about that poem.
I got to be real old before I recognized that we're running out of opportunity. I have grandchildren, and I marvel at their ignorance as well as their knowledge and strengths. Okay, because truthfully, when I grew up, there was no internet, let alone a computer, let alone a stuff. I remember that. I remember being in Stockton when they walked on the moon. We were visiting some relatives and we rode way up there and it took a long time. And then when we got there, us cousins and stuff, we put on our swimming trunks and we walked 2 blocks in 100-degree weather with I didn't have flip-flops, over hot concrete to get to the pool, right? And we swam and we played. And when we got back to the house, everybody was in front of the TV to watch the landing of those, and Dr. Neil got out and he walked on the moon, and we like, no, he didn't, and so the day ended and the sun came and the moon came up, and we sat in the back of the porch and we wondered whether or not we would ever do that, and such. And so my point in all of that is that now, as we recognize this global warming thing, as we recognize particulates of plastic in the waters, and how not only do we need to worry about tuna being full of mercury because of the trash they're eating. We also have to contend with the understanding that those fish are also eating plastic particulates, and we don't know what that's going to do with us, to us, or how to even get rid of it. That stuff scares me for my children's children, and they say, well, there's a chance. And I'm like, I don't know, but I gotta believe there's a chance. And so that's kind of where this came from. And it became it was a role. It was a role. It took a couple of weeks for this to come together because I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I think what I didn't like was the message, because it does sound as though, in my opinion, no, it looks as though, in my opinion, we don't stand a chance. And then there are those guys who are building spaceships so they can go to Mars because they don't plan to fix this. They just plan to leave. I'm like, wow. That's kind of how it came to be.
I always love the book, Ray Bradbury book, Martian Chronicles, because
I read that. Yeah.
yeah, and it sort of outlines what would happen if we went to Mars and how we would ruin it the way that we've ruined
That's right. That's
the New
right.
World when we emigrated here.
Well, unfortunately, I have to accept the fact that our species is very disrespectful of everything, literally everything, and the level of greed and disrespect is just beyond imagination.
Other people would like to comment too. Feel free to unmute.
Okay, here's your opportunity. Spit in my eye.
No chance of that.
Well, they'll hit their screen and I'll just notice. So it's I don't know. And I want to say hi to Miss Celeste. Hi, Celeste. I know
Hi
that
there,
lady.
Nomad. Hi
A
there,
bunch of
Nomad.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these things that I'm writing that you've never heard because several reasons. I write too fast, so we can only share one at a time, and I'm thinking that it's too long, so I don't do that. But this is an opportunity for me to get a bunch of this stuff off my chest. Thank you, Richard,
you bet.
And thank you, you community people.
The idea of sitting on a bar stool is a poetry prompt. What an awesome idea.
Oh, you like that one?
I did, yes.
There was another one. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because as I said, I've got so many things going on. I was never really sure what I was going to share. And as I was sharing with my mom, it always has to do with who the audience is, or who I am speaking to, that which I began to share. So the one that I am looking for is called, well, if I can't find it, there's no reason for you to tell me the name of it. But that's not to say that I won't. That's not to say I won't. This is called My Two Worlds. Within my micro world, there is tranquility, no wars to referee, no climate problems to solve, only an Eden of peace to enjoy. In my macro world, the solace of meditation is disturbed by intrusive thoughts of impending mad dashes to be next, if not first. As the sun rises, the cock crows, signaling the start of another day's rat race to life's swirling whirlpool, joined by others jostling to be next, if not first. Sometimes I'm perplexed as to how I might handle these two realities, knowing that the full life cannot help but experience joys and pains, sometimes equally, sometimes not. But that thought troubles me less as the sun retreats. I leave the macro world, remove my coat, hat, shoes, and attitude at the door, dawning a different me, one that matches the tranquility of my micro world, enjoyed in the peace of my Eden.
Yes.
It only looks easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, here's one you might enjoy. An ode to my succubus. You would think there would be trepidation with the comings of the day's end and the rising of the moon, knowing time to retire would arrive soon, finding me in her embrace, causing me to swoon. Mythology for you is reality to me. Some would view such an attitude with fright. Unlike them, I am pleased to invite a succubus into my dreams night after night. Seduced, then pleasured to exhaustion, I find a euphoria unknown to me before, in an exotic temptress, the succubus of my dreams, sent to delight my lonely nights. Or could it be the reality within this mythology is I am her incubus and she my prey? Who's to say?
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Great ending.
Yeah.
We don't know what we think we know, huh?
When's the last time you heard a poem about a succubus?
Right. There you go. and
I
few,
haven't heard it.
I had to look up what the counterpart to a succubus was before I heard of an incubus, because I've read of the succubus. I've never read of the incubus. I said, oh, okay, here we go. Here we go.
So what would you, maybe two more, and then we'll open it up to an open mic.
Okay, I'll make this one easy. Another love poem. Reiteration. I love you. I do. I love you. I really do. I love you. I know you have heard me say it before, but it bears saying once more. I love you. Unfortunately, in my dumb-wittedness, I struggle to express this thing I feel, to get you to believe it is real. And so I repeat my key phrase, I love you. I know it must be maddening to hear repeated the same thing over and over and over again, but I do love you. So through deeds, I plant the seeds meant to cultivate a vision of the beauty, the garden of love we could create. But while I wait for our seeds to sprout, I want to assure you, to dispel any doubt, I love you. That was easy. That was easy. I am addicted to writing now. I think I write one or two poems every other night. And I say every other night because I'll start writing. I mean, I nap for a minute and then I'll wake up and then I'll start writing, and I'll write clear till the sun comes up, and there's stuff to do while the sun is up, and so then I have to sleep for 2 more days before I can do that again. So it's funny how it works. It is. That's why I say this is my new addiction. I've given up a whole bunch of other things to allow myself to attempt to get old. I'm a junior senior citizen. Okay, I have to respect the fact that I just got to the door. Okay, barely got it open, and people are trying to push me in, and people are trying to keep me out, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll stand by the door now for a little longer as a senior citizen. All right, no need to rush things, right? But it's my new thing. So, and I'm loving it.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm reading comments. Mr. Mark.
And these are all like just lines from
Yes.
what you read.
Yeah.
The ones that impress me or hit me the most, I'll put in the chat.
Little tradition of Mark and I.
Yes.
And it was funny that we both picked the same line.
A lot of the time we do.
Yes, we do.
It's an odd thing to me how poetry gives people the ability to see things that they wouldn't ordinarily see, and then when they express them within the same lines, different people see different things. I'm like, wow, you know, that's a wow moment for me.
Your poetry is very introspective. Very introspective. I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. I spend a lot of time in this poor brain. I mean, there are about 4 or 5 brain cells left, and you know they they have a nasty habit of fighting for what's the word, to be first, to be on top, you know. And then I'm like, okay,
Priority.
yes.
Yeah.
It is maddening sometimes, and sometimes it's funny. More often than not, it's funny. I've gone through these things. I try to share these things with people I think that are of like mind, who are not poetically inclined. And I find like my other passion, chess, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time. They can't hear it. They, you know, it's, but then again, you know, we are closed to those things that we are truly not interested in, or versed in. But that's okay. You know, that's okay. There's room for everybody to do their little everything, you know. And I think I grew up too fast, or time passed so fast that I didn't get an opportunity to experience some of those things that I didn't know were there to experience, you know. So that's where a lot of my writing comes from. And in that I see stuff, and then all of a sudden I want to experience it, and such. It's, and I know it's a tad late, you know, not that it can't be done, just that it would probably be foolish for me to go in that direction.
Well, you got nothing but time. You got nothing but time
we can,
to experience those things.
I don't know. Okay. If I may, I had my grandson for the summer. He just went back, and the last time I seen him here, he came with his dad, and we went out to the A1 kart racing. And his dad was big enough to do it, and I didn't do it because I was watching my grandson, who was not big enough to do it, and just short of tears. He was just breaking his heart. So this time he was here, I took him over there, and he was full of deja vus. I remember this. I remember, oh, this is, I'm sure it's going to be great now. So I let him in. But because I have sciatica, I couldn't and join in on that. It would not be a good idea to put my back through that. And he enjoyed it immensely. You know, he got out of the little cart, and he was talking about how he zoomed around the corner, and how when it's finally time to quit, he had figured out exactly what he needed to do to make it go faster. And you know, I'm living vicariously through him for that moment. But that's one of my examples of, I think you better not, fool, quit. Sit back on your bench. You know, it's so. That's my example of, no, I think that time has passed. You know, it's funny.
Okay,
It's funny, but it's not.
One more poem.
There are several more, and I try and stay away from the longer ones. Here, allow me. Okay. This is an epigraph called Dreams Deferred by Langston Hughes, written in 1951. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it shrink like does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweets? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And my writing is called My Dream Deferred. Dear Mr. Hughes, over the holiday, I find myself reminiscing. Thoughts of times past and sometimes the ifs of desire that did not materialize cloud my mind. Though I have had a very interesting life at this point, the main subject seems to be that keeps coming up on a whole is I chose a different path than any of my schoolmates. And sadly, I have lost touch with all of my schoolmates. And the truth is, I had never been much for those types of relationships. And I'm sure that I had a lot to do with the fact that I was not a stable person when it came to staying in one place very long, nor did I put any stock in staying in touch with others. So there's a lot of things that I missed out on because I just wasn't there, nor did I care. It wasn't till lately that I began to miss those kinds of connections. Now, don't get me wrong or feel sorry for me. I've had a lot of fond memories of childhood, like the day my father brought home a retired police dog named Blue. We had not long returned to the States from Germany, and I was about 7 or so. And as a new kid in the area, I didn't know any of the others. And I played a lot with my sister, who was 4. And my other sister was a toddler, just turning 1. So I pretty much played by myself because, as you know, little sisters that size are not much fun to play with. They tend not to be very good at following the rules of the game and would get mad when you wouldn't let them cheat. And this course caused her to cry, which got me in trouble, even though it wasn't my fault. This particular day, I was playing in my room when I looked up and I was face to face with this big dog looking me eye to eye. At first sight, this animal terrified me. I don't remember if he was on a leash or not. I only remember my first meeting as me jumping on the bed and screaming, "Mom!" And that was followed by my father's boisterous laugh and his introducing me to Blue, the dog. And by this time, the dog was in a seating position, and my father, who, as I remember it, was a very commanding my father, who, as I remember, was very commanding, career Army person with a very commanding voice. My father told me in his commanding tone to get down off that bed and come shake hands with Blue. When he said this, the dog raised his paw to shake, and that was the thing that wiped away all the reservations in of safety as I related to this huge animal eating me. I came down from the bed to learn Blue got his name because he had 2 blue spots on his tongue. And needless to say, we became best friends. I learned that he was a very smart dog, and he knew some tricks and would play fetch with me whenever I asked. And this might be at the root of my failure to have close and long-lasting connecting relationships with humans. When I was in my early teens, I remember having problems fitting in the middle school groups. I was not really interested in sports, but I did want one of those acclaimed school letters. However, that was out of my reach, as sports and school government were the only ways to get one. However, what I learned about myself in middle school was that I was a good salesperson, not just good with money, but not good with money. I found I had no problem at getting people to buy my products and my storylines, but then I would spend my money on junk. And it wasn't until my time in the service, the United States Marine Corps, that I began to utilize seriously that skill. I would buy beer by the case from the PX and resell it after hours at a 30% markup. I would taxi for a fee. I would even stand easy guard. I always money up front. Even then, I even did loan sharking. I was quite popular, but I never considered any of them my friends. My friends were females, but not for long, as I was not one to stay put for very long. And when I finally returned to California, I decided to take up um, the businessman thing on a very serious venture, as I did not like the job position I was being offered. And I didn't want to be a laborer and house and warehouse foreman, which I tried for about a year, was not that much better. I have a few other things. I have a few others that I considered menial jobs on my resume. I have toyed with several entrepreneurial enterprises opportunities. Let me go down. Okay. I have been writing poetry since I was a kid. Never thought anything I wrote was worth keeping. I haven't the slightest idea where they were or when it was discarded, but those scraps of paper seem relevant, if for no other reason than to reminisce. Before I knew it, my kids were grown and on their own, and I have all this time on my hands. The problem, as I see it, as it was back then, I feared I could not afford to be a starving artist with kids and a wife to feed. Materials are not cheap, and I never believed I could support my family, let alone myself, delving in such foolhardy endeavors, even though at one point I did, but not as a different, but now is a different time, and I am working with a different attitude. I now believe I can afford to be an artist. Mr. Langston Hughes, I am pleased to say my deferred dreams did not dry up like a raisin in the sun. By choice, they are being realized as I write these lines. Sincerely, the Nomad.
Wow.
Thank you, Nomad.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to share.
Okay, we'll open up to open mic now. Anybody would like to share a poem or two? If you do, yeah, Tapati, go ahead. What? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Tapati.
Couple of things. Nomad, it's a pleasure to meet you over Zoom. Your mother must be proud of you, a poet. And almost all of your poems, especially about the pollution of Earth. And one thing I beg to differ with you is that nature was kind, but nature has her dangerous sides, like the floods, the mud, eruptions, mudslides, you name it. He also has weapons.
Okay.
And I would start a poem that ends with peace that Nomad mentioned many times. It's a a dainty moth set on my bedroom wall, a vigilant dog. It never Quicks white powder.
Could you start again? You're getting your audio's clipping off part of your sentences. Why don't you move the microphone a little bit closer?
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is a nonet, a dainty moth set on my bedroom wall. A vigilant house lizard stalked. A swift, narrow tongue struck out. Quick splatter of white powder. Witness to murder. Next day, 2 moths stood on guard. Moths safe. Peace.
Wow. Yeah, thank you.
And I would like to read some haikus.
Sure.
with your permission.
Of course.
Melody of heart wants me to sing it to you. I am without voice. Color-changing sky beckons me to join its vastness. My entrapped soul cries. Sea entices me for peace and tranquility, but I cannot swim.
There you go.
Rhythmic sound of rain, monsoon declares victory. Wet leaves remain calm. Fishes sleep standing. Blue water surrounds. They do not blink when asleep. Big fish eat small fish. Smaller fish eat smallest fish. Minnows not lucky.
Yes.
Blue spruce reaches high, stands in rain, snow, day and night. Sky keeps moving far away. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Tabasha.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Mark, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Rick. And Nomad. Awesome work. Loved how you put the set of poems together. And I am so glad to get this crash course in the totality of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I have one poem. I was at a reading last night. They had a theme of the movies. And I wrote several on the theme.
Tequila Sunset. Copyright.
Saturday matinee in the only theater in Oakland showing double features. My work buddy did swing shift Fridays, and I pulled weekend graveyard. So sometimes on Saturday, we'd meet at the theater around 11 a.m., buy our tickets and bucket of popcorn, then meander to seats in the back row. Always the back row. Sit through previews and commercials, chuckling and back-talking and returning the glares of the few other stragglers to the early show as they find seats preferably not close to us. Once the savory, buttery popcorn made her thirsty, my work buddy surreptitiously extracted a paper bag from her purse containing a small bottle of Jose Cuervo tequila. While rustling of paper bag made others turn around like dogs when a candy wrapper is open, twisting the cap is unmistakable. So she always popped open the bottle before we stepped inside. A few chugs to sate her thirst, then handed to me for a couple sips. She drank 75% of it. Fine with me. Tequila wasn't really my thing. Movies projected while we laughed and hooted and felt the buzz. One Saturday we arranged to meet, but said she was short and could I buy the tequila this time? Sure. That bottle was empty by the end of the first movie. I don't blame her. That movie was boring. And we were there to see the second movie, Best Defense, starring Dudley Moore and Eddie Murphy. As tank and opening credits roll, she pulls out a new bottle of tequila out of her purse. Say what? Oh, I forgot I told you to bring the tequila this time. I remember taking one big chug. I remember a tank rolling around. fade to black. I remember tripping over cement block in the parking lot leaving the theater. I remember eating French fries in sandwich shop several blocks down the street. I remember vomiting on floor of sandwich shop. I remember guy on bus penetrating me with Superman heat vision. I remember her getting off bus 10 stops before mine. And the next thing I know, it's 11 p.m. Alarm is squawking. And staggering from bed to bathroom to throw up, wearing one shoe. My naked foot steps on apartment keys, which had been dropped on carpet between door and bed. My head spinning like a malfunctioning gyro while planes pound eardrums with concussive payloads. Oh, I saw the XM10 Annihilator all right. But mine comes in a bottle, wrapped in a paper bag. And I do not belong in this war.
Yeah,
Karen,
yeah,
that was amazing. Thank
there
you.
was.
Thank you.
Might I add one more in that vein?
Sure.
This is called diluted whiskey. Unwanted tears dilute the whiskey I drink. Take my mind off the reason for the tears. I miss her. Doesn't convey the depth of the emotional disturbance I experience as streaming thoughts during conscious moments, nor does it halt the invasion of sleep with remnants of nor does it halt the invasion of sleep with remnants of reenactments of happier times. And so here I sit, fighting back tears that dilute the whiskey I drink to take my mind off the reasons for the unwanted tears.
Oh, yes.
That's some of that barroom talk again. Thank you for allowing me to share.
You bet. So I have a couple. Yesterday happened to be the 8th anniversary of my son's passing. So I wrote one for this year, and I have one from the third year, year 3. Altar of yesterday, a lone sentinel burns. Shadows pirouette in time with pulses of the heart. Nights follow days, grinding slower. The wheel completes another obligatory turn. A box marks arrest deferred. Crumbs of memory, shielded by wood and glass, against a relentless now.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
beautiful.
And it's been easier each year. And so this is for year 8. Years have passed since we said goodbye. Where you rest is my touchstone high. Hole that never fills but aches less. We speak and tell you the latest mess. My heart swings now towards a hope. One day as I last breathe and grope. Oh, to see your cocked head and grin. To feel your embrace on my skin. Then a dance of words that invites to fly the cosmos, seeing sights. Answers to questions for this boy. To rest in God and know true joy. Till then, I pay bills, sigh and contract, grasping comforts served to distract, mining laughs like gold in a stream, and awake from a long and mundane dream.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Rick. Didn't know this.
Yeah, I'm a part of an
Thank you.
exclusive club that nobody should be part of.
Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's been easier this year. It's like and it's the weirdest thing about being human. It's like when you come up with an anniversary date, it's like each day generally feels worse and worse, and the very day is just awful. And then the next day you feel better. It's like
Yeah.
nothing's changed, you know. But it's the last couple of years have been easier, and I find myself feeling kind of hopeful and future forward, you know, because I've just heard so many stories about people who've seen a loved one at their bedside as they pass, and it just, you know, and occasionally he comes to me in a dream, you know, makes appearances in
Mm.
dreams. It's always such a welcome gem.
Wow.
Anyone else? Now that I killed the moon.
No, sorry, you mentioned the dream state. My sister Faye, which I mentioned in one of the poems, and she passed away, close to 15 years ago now. And she comes up in several of my dreams as somebody in the group. And
Mhm.
she's 3 years younger than I. And I remember very distinctly that while we were growing up, I was always trying to ditch her because she was always trying to hang out with
Mhm.
and now she gets to hang out. You know, it's wow.
Right.
That's
So
cool. That's cool.
yeah, it's fun. It is. Um,
Allegra, do you have a poem for us?
Well, I do, but you know, it was so beautiful hearing yours. I almost feel like that's a wonderful place to end without hearing mine.
oh, please, please, please.
All right. One with sky. Stars that light the night, do not ask for whom or why. They stitch the darkness into a glittering gown for all on earth to share and wear. The startle of dawn brings me to another day. Through my door window, as I watch where birds come to feed, I'm one with trees touching the sky. The mothering clouds bring me a whisper of love sent from blue beyond, a chanting of returning, infinity beckoning.
Mm,
Wow,
thank you.
that's beautiful. Thank you.
It
That's
is.
so much better to end on. Thank you so much, all. This is a wonderful reading. I look forward to seeing you again next month. And I'm not going to go. I know Mike Pickering's going to be joining us from the Heart Center soon, and we'll also we also have Frank Graham's going to be joining us soon. I have to look. I don't recall which month it is.
Yeah,
And also Laura Rosenthal, who's
good.
also been at SAC Poetry Center and also at the Poetry Alliance. So we have some really wonderful poets coming up in the months to come.
And today
Okay.
was a wonderful reading.
Yes, it was.
It was. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Nomad. Thank you. Thank you to Nomad, our guest reader, and wish you all a pleasant day and a cooler week.
Thank you for the invite, Dwight.
No, thank you. I appreciate your presence. And I shall return again.
Awesome.
Good.
Okay, we'll see you again.
Excellent.
Take care.
Thank you and good
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
you.